In this episode, I discuss the difference between base premium and PUA premium. This is one of the biggest questions that we get. It's one of the most commonly asked questions in meetings when we are explaining infinite banking to people. And it's one of the most relevant things to look into and study and understand inside the infinite banking concept when you're looking at a policy and how the policy premiums build equity inside the policy. So without any further ado, let's get into it. PUA premium versus base premium, one of the biggest questions we deal with. This is Dollars and Nonsense. My name is Michael Duryea. Welcome back to Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. But if you're just listening and you can't see the screen, if you're just listening on one of the listen-only platforms, that's okay. You'll get a lot out of this podcast anyway. If you want the full benefit of the podcast, just head on over to Living Wealth on YouTube, and you can see this drawn out on the screen. But again, I'll make it very well worth your time, whether you can see my screen or not. So every time we start an infinite banking policy, there are two kinds of premium. There is the base premium, and there is the PUA premium. Okay. Now, the first way that I always explain this is, and this was Ray's way of explaining this, the base premium is the satellite, and the PUA premium is like the booster rockets. So the base premium, where the computers and the scientists and all the important equipment is, that's the base premium up at the top. The PUA premium is the rocket boosters that you use to get the base premium into orbit. But it's the base premium that's the most important, which is something that we're going to be talking a lot about in this episode. Okay. Now, the number one reason that I wanted to bring up this topic for the podcast is this, and this is something I just keep explaining many times, and I love it because I've seen it so many times recently, and I've seen it so much in my own life. I have seen it so much in my own life and my own thinking. After 7 years of doing infinite banking, I just see it all the time, and especially powerfully the last 3 or 4 years in my own life. And I see it and I tell people this: this is it. Everybody that starts infinite banking goes through the exact same mental process when thinking about base premium versus PUA premium, and that is, they see that at the beginning, the base premium is not generating any cash value. Cash value of the base premium, and they see that the PUA premium is creating dollar for dollar premium, right? The PUA premium is creating dollar for dollar cash value inside the policy right away. So the base premium is not generating any cash value, and the PUA premium is generating all the cash value at the beginning. So the mindset that almost everybody starts out with in the infinite banking concept is, okay, let's make the base premium as small as possible, and let's make the PUA premium as big as we possibly can, because the base premium isn't generating any cash for me to use, and the PUA is the thing that generates all the cash. This is a mindset that I started out with myself in infinite banking, and I still catch myself thinking this way. And of course, we see clients thinking this way all the time. What's the problem with thinking this way? Well, the problem with thinking this way is it's very incomplete. It's not entirely wrong. There's a lot of truth in it, but it's incomplete. And the reason that this is an incomplete way of thinking is because this is only year one of the policy. Okay? Year one of the policy. Year one of the policy, it is true. The base premium goes to build the guaranteed contract. It goes to build the death benefit. It goes to, pay the home office expenses at the life insurance company, the underwriters. It pays the agency. It pays me. It pays my staff that works in the office here at Living Wealth. The base premium kind of pays for all the stuff that it takes to create a guaranteed contract life insurance policy, all down the line from the client to the life insurance company itself. That's what the base premium is. And so The base premium, if we were to look at death benefit, it creates a gigantic jump in death benefit. And the PUA causes a tiny little jump in death benefit, but a lot of cash. That's, again, this is year one. We're talking only year one. All right. And that's to like build the foundation underneath the policy. We hardly ever talk about the death benefit in the infinite banking perspective, but the more that I've thought about it, and especially going to the Nelson Nash seminar earlier this year, I've started to think that maybe we should start talking about the death benefit a little bit more often, because it is a very important part of the life insurance policy. But anyway, I'll leave that alone for now. So yeah, this is the way we tend to think. Boy, I really like that. I really like that PUA. It's giving me cash right away, and that base is like, man, I guess I'll put up with it. Okay. The problem is we just got to look a little bit further down the road and see what's really going on with policy. Okay. So another way that I've explained this to people a lot, and the way I've thought about it, and I really feel the image that the Lord gave me is, we all know people who are really good with their money and other people who are not so good with their money at all. People that tend to mismanage money and they waste it and they don't really know what to do with it, versus people who know what to do with money and they can generate more money with it and profits, investments, and return and build wealth with money. And the people that are not good with money do not think long term. They just don't think long term. And the people that are really good with money tend to think very long term. And in my experience, the longer term that people think with money, the better managing money and the better they are at operating money as a tool. And so in order to really understand the difference between the PUA premium, the base premium, what we need to do is look longer term to see what's really happening. So what happens in year two? So I'm writing year two out on my screen now. Well, in year two, basically the same thing happens. I mean, again, the PUA is generating dollar for dollar cash value, and the base really is generating almost no cash value, basically zero. Okay, so in this phase of infinite banking, when people are getting their policies started, this was my experience. This was the experience of many people around me. I have a big circle of friends that are all doing infinite banking, and all of us had the same experience. The PUA is this wonderful thing that's giving us all this banking cash to use. And this base premium is something that feels like we're kind of dragging it around by our ankle, and it's kind of heavy, and I wish that base premium wasn't there. That's because the booster rockets are still working really hard to get this thing into orbit. But let's just stick with it a little while and see what happens when we get this thing into orbit. So what about year three? Year three is where things really start to change. In year three, the base premium will start to generate something like 50 to 60 cents of cash value for every dollar that you put in. And the PUA is still dollar for dollar. Okay. So what does our mindset tend to be? Well, I'm a little bit happier about the base premium because that's better than it was last year. And I'm still really happy about the PUAs because that gave me dollar for dollar cash. And then the base premium, well, it's still kind of dragging it behind, but at least it's generating something now. That's how we tend to feel in year three of the policy. Okay, so that's kind of like year three. Then year four of the policy. Let's see what's going on in year four. Okay, year four rolls around. And at this point, the base premium begins to generate about $1 of cash value for every dollar you put in. Maybe 90 cents. Very conservatively speaking. It depends on the way the policy is built and so forth. But about 90 cents to $1 of cash value is created in the policy for every dollar of base. For every dollar of base I put in, I get about $1 back in cash value, and it appears in equity in my policy. That's great. And the PUA is still dollar for dollar. So now we're like, oh, well, that base thing, it wasn't that fun for very long, but it's a little bit more fun now. Okay. What happens in year five? Let's go to year five. Okay. I'm going to erase all this. Year five, we see that the base premium is now, for every dollar of base premium in year five that we put in, it's generating maybe $1.20 or maybe even $1.30 for every dollar that we put in. Okay. Now we're like, and the PUA is still dollar for dollar cash. You put in $1 of PUA, $1 of cash value appears in the policy. Okay. Now we start, this is where the mindset shift happens. Remember, I said there's this similar mindset shift that happens with everybody that starts doing infinite banking. This is about the time where people come back to me and they're like, hey, man, this base premium is generating a lot of cash. This is awesome. Can I make the base premium higher? Unfortunately, no, you can't. The base premium is set in stone at the beginning of the policy. It can never be smaller. It can never be bigger. The only way to increase your base premiums is to get a second policy, to get an additional policy. So the mindset switch that I talked about at the beginning, the mindset switch that everybody goes through. I have never seen anybody not go through this switch in their thinking with a whole life policy designed for banking is at the beginning, at the beginning, they really like the PUA premium and they just don't like the base premium as much. That's how it is at the beginning. And over time, these two always switch places because the truth of the matter is that the base premium generates way more cash than the PUA premium if you just think long-term enough. If you look at it long-term enough, the base generates way more cash than the PUA. And this is actually the real answer to a question that I get all the time. And it's like, okay, Michael, once this first policy is capitalized, is it better to just keep funding the PUA or is it better to start another policy? And instead of just giving them a simple answer, I always explain this difference between the base and the PUA because the truth is, it's almost always, not in every case, every case is unique, okay? But it's almost always better to get another policy so that we can take advantage of the real growth of the base premium. Let's go beyond year 5 and go to year 7. We'll just skip a year, go to 7 or something because it really starts. By year 7, the base premium will be generating about $1.50 of cash value for every dollar that you put in. And the PUA is still dollar for dollar. If you haven't caught on yet, the PUA is always dollar for dollar. It's dollar for dollar year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 11, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 80, 100. It doesn't matter what year of the policy you're in. The PUA premium is always dollar for dollar cash available in the policy. But it's the base premium that gets better and better and better and better every year, no matter how long the policy is in existence. The benchmarks that you want to see is you want to see the important years with the base premium is year 4. In the 4th year of the policy, the base premium will be generating about $1 for dollar cash value, much like the PUA. The only time the base is like the PUA for cash building is year 4. Somewhere between the 36th and the 48th month, if you want to really start splitting hairs, but it's year 4. That's the only time it's like it. So year 4, it should be dollar for dollar. About year 7 to 8 is when it should be generating, and almost always is. Again, almost always is. There's extenuating circumstances that I won't go into because there's a lot to this concept. But in year 7 to 8, it will be generating $1.50 for every dollar that you put in cash value. Now, that means if the base premium is $10,000, that means you put in $10,000 and the cash value will $10,000 of base premium and the cash value will go up by $15,000 in that year. If the base premium is $100,000, it'll go up by $150,000 and so on. It doesn't matter what the number is. If the premium is $100, it'll go up by $150 in that year. It doesn't matter what the premium is. That's the benchmark. And then somewhere between the 10th and 12th year, and now it will be generating $2 of cash value for every dollar that you put in. And somewhere around the 20th year, 17th to 20th year, it will be generating $3 of cash value for every dollar that you put in. Now, all of these general numbers can be accelerated if you overfund the PUA more. which kind of adds to the complexity of all this even further, which some of you will have seen another layer there that I'm not going to go into today. But this is the basic layout of an insurance policy, a whole life mutual dividend paying whole life policy as it goes progresses through the years. And again, the PUA is always dollar for dollar, and the base premium is starts off generating no cash value. It creates the death benefit, it creates the guaranteed contract, it creates all that. But then over time, the base premium also generates way more cash in the policy than the PUA ever will. Again, thinking long term, which is the best way to think if you want to build wealth. Think long term was one of Nelson Nash's top 3 financial rules. Okay? So there you have it. That's a basic overview of the difference between the base premium and the PUA premium. And I would just reiterate again, it's a mindset shift that every single person who ever finds out about infinite banking, ever starts doing infinite banking, ever implements infinite banking in their life, it's a mindset shift that all of us have gone through and that everybody goes through between when they first start and they get to year 2, 3, 4, 5 of the policy. They just have this mindset shift about base premium versus PUA premium. And I was seeing it all the time in my meetings, and I'm seeing it constantly. And it's just really worth doing a podcast episode to help people understand why this is happening. Why is this happening in my mind? Why do I think of the base premium this way? Why do I think of the PUA premium in that way, and so forth? So I think I'm going to leave it there for this week. Keep it nice and simple after having a rather awesome but long podcast episode last week. An awesome episode. If you missed the episode last week when I interviewed my grandfather, I would strongly encourage you to go listen to that. Just had a really great time with him on the podcast talking about his life. And if you have any suggestions for podcast topics that you would like us to cover, just go ahead and email me, please, michael@livingwealth.com. And just let us know what topics you would like us to cover, and we'll add them to the queue. We would love to hear from you. And so that's it for today. This has been Dollars and Nonsense. Thank you again for tuning in to the Dollars and Nonsense podcast show. My name is Michael Duryea. This has been Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered.